Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoint and welcome back to another video. And today we're looking at the GP950, LG's 4K HDR gaming monitor with a 1 millisecond response time. So I've actually been looking for a new screen over the last few months or so, something that had HDMI 2.1 support for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. And I think I found the ultimate gaming monitor. It's capable of 144Hz and supports AMD FreeSync, G-Sync and VRR. It basically ticks all of the boxes when it comes to a new monitor. Now I'm not sure if it's down to this monitor, but since building my new desk setup, my gaming has noticeably improved. This thing is absolutely rapid and it looks incredible, but it's not cheap. The GP950 is currently £800 or $900, and for a 27-inch screen, that's pretty expensive. In my review today, I will show you what it's like for gaming on both the PS5 and Xbox Series X, as well as talking about the response time, picture quality, and things I would actually change. And if you've made it this far in today, please drop a comment below telling me what you currently game on. Are you Xbox, PlayStation, or PC? Okay, let's talk about the overall look of this monitor. I love the design. The bezels around the edges are incredibly thin, giving it an almost frameless look. The stand offers the usual adjustments that you would expect, including height adjustment, pivot, and rotate. So you can use it in both landscape or portrait mode. Unfortunately, the screen cannot be angled or moved left and right without moving the entire stand. I was also really impressed with just how easy it was to put this monitor together, as no tools are required at all. The screen just clips onto the stand, and then the stand attaches to the legs using just 2 screws, and that's it. There is some small branding on the feet, including the LG logo on the right and the G-Sync logo on the left. This green sticker can be removed if you don't like it, it will just peel off. The stand feels really solid and sturdy, there's no worries about it being knocked or shaking during gaming. Now the back of the stand is pretty thick and heavy duty looking, and although it's got a cable management hook, that's all that it offers. It would have been nice if it had some kind of internal cable management trunking like their ergo brackets. But if you don't want to use the stand that it comes with, well, it does have the VESA support as well, so this screen can be wall mounted or attached to a different bracket. Taking a look at the ports on this monitor. It comes with 2 HDMI 2.1 ports. Now this is the biggest addition to this year's monitor. It brings that 4K 120Hz support for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. There's also a DisplayPort 1.4, 2 USB downstream, 1 USB upstream and a headphone jack. While we're here, let me show you the LED lights which are built into the back. This RGB colour wheel named Sapphire lighting brings a nice glow behind the monitor. You can adjust the brightness and turn them on and off using a little scroll wheel across the bottom. If you're using it on a PC, you're also able to have the monitor match the content on screen, but if you're using it on a console, this option won't work. There are some default colours to choose between like red, green and white, or you can go for the full rainbow vibe instead. I usually have LifeX strips behind my TVs and my monitors as it adds a nice glow and it usually helps with eye strain and fatigue. So these lights are a nice addition to have as standard, although it would have been awesome if the Ambilight worked on the HDMI inputs. So the GP950 is a 4K IPS panel and it looks incredible. It's also incredibly sharp. The colours are vibrant, punchy and very accurate. Plus, as it supports HDR10, you've got the option to watch and play both SDR and HDR content. While I'm gaming, I always have HDR switched on, whether that's on my C1 OLED or this monitor, and this monitor does not disappoint. It's rated at HDR 600, so brightness is pretty good and far better than the HDR 400 monitors that I've used. Over the last few weeks, I've played loads of different games on it, including Call of Duty Vanguard, Forza, and a few others. And these games have looked so nice on it. Now, I'd normally play on my TV, so the colours and contrast don't really come close to an OLED, but for an LED monitor, it looks awesome. Just look at the detail and the colours here. This looks absolutely awesome. Plus, as it's 4K, everything including the text is super sharp. Talking about the LG OLED, well, I'm currently using the 77-inch C1, and it's as good as this Ultra Gear monitor in terms of response time and input lag. It's an incredible TV for gaming on. I actually did a review about it a few months ago. Well, it's currently on sale, and if you're interested in picking up this TV or the smaller 48, 55 or 65-inch, please click that link in the description to see the current offers. Now, the highlights and the shadows I have found to be perfectly balanced, but there are some settings that you can tweak on the monitor if you wish to. These are called gamer profiles, and you can actually change the overall contrast and the shadows of the game just by changing the profile option. I found Profile Gamer 1 the best option, but there's other options including FPS and RTS to choose from. Now, as this is an IPS panel, there are limited dimming zones. It makes some dark scenes look more grey than black. And if you're playing a dark game or at night, there's a chance you will experience some light bleed. I've tried to demonstrate that here. It's not really bothered me while gaming, but it's definitely something worth mentioning. Now here's a scene in Gran Turismo Sport, which I'm racing at night. It's not helping that it's during the day and I've got the lights on, but it's also down to that anti-glare coating which is on the screen. That will impact it slightly. As soon as you go off center, which you won't really do while gaming, you can see the colours are washed out and the contrast is lost. On a TV this might be an issue, but on a monitor it's not really of concern. Now this monitor is a 27-inch and I actually did have a concern before I got it if it would be too small, but having used it for the last 3 or 4 weeks I would say it's the perfect size. I have also got a 32-inch monitor on my other desk setup, the UN880, but that feels a little too big for gaming, but it's perfect for productivity. Overall, the picture quality and colour accuracy as well as the sharpness is very impressive. This is by far the best looking monitor that I've ever used. Now as I mentioned, I also have the UN880 and I use that for working on, but I think the GP950 could easily be used for both gaming and productivity, although a 27-inch screen for productivity might be slightly too small. Now let's talk about the response time and the input lag. This monitor is an absolute beast. I've got nothing bad to say about it at all. It's fast, in fact it's rapid. Now I'm not sure if it's down to the monitor and the slightly lower input lag over my OLED, but my gameplay has noticeably improved since getting it. Now this could be down to the fact that I'm now sitting at a desk or the chair that I'm using, but I feel a lot more focused and combined it just feels so much better. But yeah, this monitor is fast. It's got a 1 millisecond response time when you're using it in the fastest option and an incredibly low input lag. I couldn't find the exact figure on the LG website, but I believe it's around 4 milliseconds. And the fact it can run at 120Hz for the PS5 and Xbox Series X is a game changer, literally. Everything runs so smoothly and there's no issues with screen tearing or dropped frames. Switching the 120 mode on in Vanguard makes a nice difference to the whole experience of the game. And if you're gaming on a PC though, you can run this at 144Hz, or overclock it to 160 when using the DisplayPort. It also supports VRR, which means if you're using the Xbox Series X for example, you can take advantage of that variable refresh rate. Now I won't be using the Xbox on this monitor as it is currently plugged into my TV, but having tested it out over the last week, it does look and run incredibly well. You can actually adjust the response time by going into the settings on the monitor. Just choose Game Adjust and then Response Time. I have mine set to Fast, as when I enabled Faster, it added loads of artifacts to the screen and looks pretty bad. But Fast works perfectly well for me and every game that I've tested it on runs really smoothly. So I have briefly shown you this throughout the video, and that's the fact that the monitor does have its own settings or menu overlay. All you need to do is press the little button on the bottom of the monitor and it will display it here. You can change the input settings or the game mode, and if you choose the game mode on the right hand side, it will then show you the current frame rate or FreeSync and HDR settings that you've got. Then in the main menu, you've got the game mode, which we've already covered. You've got Game Adjust, where you can turn on overclock or FreeSync, black stabilizer and response time. You can even add a crosshair overlay if you'd like, and there's an FPS counter on screen. Now this is useful if you want to track the FPS of a game that you're currently playing. Then under Picture Adjust, there's things like brightness and contrast and sharpness and various other settings. You can also adjust a few extra settings in here as well, along with the RGB lighting. But now let's talk about any issues or downsides to this monitor. Now nothing in my opinion is a deal breaker, but it's definitely worth mentioning. So when you turn the monitor on each time, it displays a kind of an LED light show behind, and I can't find any way to turn this off. It's not really a massive issue, but it seems a little bit unnecessary. There's the light bleed that I've mentioned earlier. It's not terrible, but in dark scenes and in a dark room, you will definitely notice it. I have read that some users have experienced issues while using this monitor on a PC, but as I don't have a PC, I cannot test or verify it. It's something to do with the graphics card and switching between a black screen and the content on screen. So if you are interested in this monitor, just make sure that it's compatible with your current PC or your graphics card. But for console gaming, I can say it works perfectly well on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And then there's this last one, which is almost irrelevant as most of us will be using headphones or external speakers, but there are no built-in speakers with this monitor. So the ultimate question is it worth it? Is the UltraGear GP950 worth the price? Well, the GN950 and even the GP850 are cheaper, but they are lacking that HDMI 2.1 port. If you can grab one of those and you don't need that support, I would probably go for those instead, as they are practically the same. But saying that, if you want that HDMI 2.1 option and you want an ultra fast monitor with 4K HDR 144Hz capability, this is really hard to beat. It looks good, it's rapid, and the picture quality is incredible. It's an easy recommendation from me, and I will be using this for a long time. Now, I'm also aware these are very difficult to get hold of at the moment. I actually ordered this back in July, but I didn't receive it until September. And my only advice is make sure you're signed up to stock notifications everywhere. I had them switched on for LG's own website, Currys, and even now in stock. But if you've got any questions about this monitor or my setup, please drop those in the comments below. And you've just made it to the end of today's video, so thank you for watching. And why don't you drop a hashtag gaming monitor in the comments and I will give you a thumbs up for staying until the end. And here's another video that you might be interested in watching next. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on so you don't miss my next upload. You can also follow me over on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time.